Go ahead. You finish out your thought.
Well, we got an error report.
Because I think I don't know.
No, it shouldn't. It did that the other day too, and it still worked.
All right, that should be live. Okay, that's live. That's still not live.
Huh.
Did
Might
we?
be stream key.
Oh my gosh, with the stream
Go to
key.
the toggle bar.
Nope, don't stop streaming.
Just go to that. Yeah, go to that.
And this one, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing this just like last week.
Yep.
I hit save.
I know. And it's probably the same stream key too. You've moved to the other side.
Who moved to the other side?
You just hit the copy button instead of.
Well, that's what you told me to do last week.
It's easier than dragging it.
I don't drag it.
Highlight it, I mean.
I'll do it old school right now. No, I need this. Control A, Control C.
Why do you have to do Control A? Oh, copy.
Select all.
Select all.
Control A, delete, Control V. Boom, old school.
And
So
then-
save and close.
Yeah. And then you should be able to start too. Go back and start too. Yeah, just hit. We should be.
Yep, there it is. Okay. So now I have to go here though, and then hit go live. Okay.
It's ridiculous.
3, 2, 1. Live video interrupted. But since I'm hooked to the,
Yeah, it's gonna mess up.
well, no. Do you see that it's not choppy?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I know what you're saying.
Then let's not forget. We gotta go back here. We gotta go here. Cut. There's our intro.
So this is gonna be fun today.
Gonna be a good day.
At least there's no rain today called for.
It's rained every day.
Yeah.
I'm glad I fixed my gutter.
Today's gonna be nice. Or tomorrow's gonna be nice too, I heard. At least somewhat.
And we're live.
All right, it's Friday, October 2nd.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, second.
October 2nd,
You're right.
Friday at 10 o'clock, and this is Uneducated, where you don't have to be educated to think rationally and seriously
You don't
about
have
things
to
of
be
the Bible.
educated.
You don't. Oh yeah, you don't have to be educated to
Because
think
I am
seriously.
not educated.
Yeah. But you do have to be serious and sincere about seeking out the truth. And so that's what we try to do here in everything we talk about. So just some real quick updates. This Sunday we have baptism at 1 o'clock. So that's after service. We'll be baptizing 11 people. 11 people.
Really?
Yep. And then we got a dedication of a baby dedication, just one baby. So that's 12 altogether that are going to get wet.
It's gonna be It's gonna be warm this weekend.
It's going to be warm this weekend.
We're praying for the Lord to do a work.
No, I mean, I did pray. I did say, Lord, if you, would be kind and merciful and
If you could
make
move
the
the
weather
weather.
nice. Yeah, but he doesn't have to. I mean, that's,
If you could make October look a little bit like August on Sunday,
yeah, right.
that'd be great.
Right. But he doesn't have to, obviously. It's just part of life, so we'll have to deal with it. So that's going to happen. And then we're going into our tribulation, or our discussion on the rapture. So we've been talking end times. So Sunday we're going to be talking tribulation, rapture. And so that should be a good time. So we hope that you can join us either online or here in person. After the baptism, too, we're going to have food. Jan and Jim and Brian and some others are helping. They're putting together a feast.
That's
So
awesome.
We're going to have food.
We're gonna have Jan and Jim back. It's been a while since they've been here.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see them back.
Yeah.
So that's going on this weekend. And then we have a wedding that's going to happen.
The Etling Turner nuptials.
Yes,
Yeah.
Etling Turner nuptials. And so the two of them are getting ready to tie the knot, and that'll happen tomorrow in PA.
Travel down the abyss together.
Yep. It's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Misery loves company. That's
Yeah.
what they say. All right, and then real quick,
Do you think that's what do they call the after party?
Reception.
Is that what isn't the reception all of the already married people going, yeah, you've joined us in our misery.
It might be. It might be.
We got 2 more to come over to this side.
Yeah. Either that or all the people that are married are coming there going, man, it's a night off. I get to come and party for a little bit instead of do all the grind stuff.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll see.
We'll do a survey. We should do on the spot, man, on the street interviews.
We should.
At the reception, do you love Jesus? Mm-hmm. We'll hold a microphone right in their face. I think this is what we should do.
It'd be a great time.
I think they would love it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. All right, so real quick, just want to get your thoughts on the debate real quick, and so it'll only take a minute. Just go ahead.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah. And I thought, to be honest, I thought Chris Wallace won.
I think Chris Wallace really showed those two that he should be president. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No,
So-
and that's what you want your moderator to do.
Yeah, I agree.
You want your moderator to lean towards the Democratic Party, but at the end go, nope, I'm actually going to be the president.
Yeah. So I figure most people write in Chris Wallace when they go to the voting polls.
Yeah, so I have a lot of people who are like, that was just so rude and I'm like, no, listen, I watched it with the covers just up to my nose, and I smiled because it was slightly uncomfortable and I had a weird feeling in my belly. But are we really surprised as sharp as to a point that the country's coming to?
Yeah, right.
That's what happened? Are you really willing to wag a finger at one or the other? Because they both represented how the country's feeling.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Right.
So why are we like, if you can't, I was talking to my Uncle Gary in text, and he was like, the thumb suckers are going to have a problem with this. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're 100% right. If you're a suburban mom who thinks everything should be wonderful, like the Lego movie, everything is awesome.
Is that, really? The Lego movie, Everything's Wonderful in that?
They have the song "Everything Is Awesome."
Oh, okay.
And if that's what you feel like life should be like, and there's never any conflict, turmoil, fighting, or wrestling over an idea.
You said wrestling.
I used the Pennsylvania wrestling. Yes, sir, I did. You had a problem with the debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You were like, bro, this is just uncivilized.
Yeah.
But again, I saw 2 individuals that are representing. I think they summed up beautifully each other's side.
Yeah, I would agree.
The left yells, "Shut up, you're a moron," and the right, we keep talking, like trying to talk over your points. Tell me that wasn't a perfect picture of the country.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
I think you're
all
right.
right. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, good. I know that the boys and April and I sat there and laughed for the first 30 minutes or so and had a good time. And then finally April got up and went to bed. And then finally Brian got up and went to bed. And then even Nathan, I thought Nathan would last most of the thing. He left. He didn't see like the last half hour of it or so. And so.
Well, you know why? Because Nathan really enjoyed the first hour where it was a real street brawl.
Yeah.
And then when Donald Trump started calming down in that last half hour,
Yeah.
Nathan's like, well, there's nothing for me here. I'm
Yeah.
out.
Right. That's true. That's true. Well, on a little more, well, not a little more, a lot more serious note.
Naomi's back.
Hey, Naomi, it's good to see. I was wondering where you've
been gone for a while.
My goodness.
Yeah, and
She's been traveling the world. That's why.
Oh, is that what's happening?
I'm pretty sure I've seen on Facebook that her and her daughter have been all over the place. Is that right, Naomi? Can you tell us a little bit about your excursions?
About your excursions and your adventures? Well, I mean, aren't we coming up on the time of the year where she was going to come up here?
Yeah, October. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
We just got to find out. Maybe that's why she's back, to tell us that she's on her way.
All right. Well.
So, on a more serious note, a friend of Brian's that he graduated with, Jack Cochran, he was a military young man. At least, I seen him in fatigues. I don't know exactly what type of military he had been in, but last week he was in a bad car accident. He was on life support for a while. We were praying for him. A lot of people were praying for him. A lot of churches in the area were praying for him and his family. But we got word last night that he passed away. So 20-year-old young man, gone. And so our hearts and our prayers go out to the family, the Cochran family now, because April and I, we've been praying hard for Jack and the family, and obviously God saw fit not to preserve his life in this instance, but now it's to pray for the family. And April and I, as we were praying last night and just thinking through, and then we woke up this morning, and when we woke up this morning, we were just kind of praying for the family, and April said, I just can't imagine how they're waking up today. And I said, I don't even know if they're waking up today, because how do you sleep when you just lost your son, and that's difficult. And it was like 9 years ago, my sister lost her son Josh and my nephew, and so tragedy like that is hard, and so our heart goes out to them, and we're praying for them, and any kind of support, we'll support them in any way that we can. So difficult time.
Yep.
So we're going to get into some discussions, but I think, Naomi, I was just trying to see what she said.
I've been busy photographing. Photographying. Okay. Well, that's good. Naomi, we're glad that you're back. It's good to see your face on there, because I can see your picture, yep.
Right? Good to see you. All right, so this morning we want to dive into something we've been talking about in our Sunday sermons, and that's end time scenarios. And last week we talked about some interesting stuff concerning giants and those kind of things. Did we not? Is that what we talked about last week?
Yeah.
Did we go down that road last week?
We did, and then my mind went to your Sunday service, talking about where or when the tribulation was happening.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we
dealt with angelic stuff in Deuteronomy and God putting lesser gods.
Yeah.
God putting lesser gods over the nations and those kind of things. So one of the things that's interesting is when you talk about tribulation, everybody sees it as all kinds of bad things happening, but there's probably going to be a lot of demonic activity happening as well in the midst of it.
Right.
So I wanted to just read a couple scriptures, and then I wanted us to kind of break down or talk about the tribulation. Because when we talk tribulation, when you go into Old Testament, you see this idea of tribulation happening and going to happen. And then when you come into the New Testament, you get this idea of tribulation that is happening and going to happen to the disciples. And then even in the Gospels and the book of Revelation, you have a great tribulation that's going to happen in the future.
So, real quickly, Matthew talks about the time of the tribulation.
Matthew 24 and 25.
25, yeah. But does the... Because there was the seven trumpets and the bowls and is that labeled tribulation in Revelation specifically? Is there a point where it's like, and here is what the tribulation will look like?
No, it doesn't say it that.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's starting in.
So we are assuming that the trumpets and the bowls and the whatever are the tribulation.
Tribulation, correct.
We have to assume that.
Yeah.
Or we do, or some people do.
Yeah, and as you look at it, the language, starting in chapter 6 of Revelation, walking all the way through chapter 9 in Revelation, the language seems to be familiar to what Jesus spoke of in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 17, and 21.
There are markers that point to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right.
So if I were to just take a look in Luke 17 real quick, which is the text we've been working out of on Sunday, but Luke 17, Jesus said that there are days that will come, this is verse 22, Luke 17, there are days that will come when you will long to see one of the days of the Son of Man and you will not see it. Now he's specifically talking to his disciples here. So he's telling his disciples, you're going to be in a situation that's going to be so bad, you're going to long for just one of the days that I was here. And you're not going to see it. So then he goes on to talk about some of these other things, and then he says in verse 25, but first I have to suffer and be rejected by this generation. And then he talks about just as it was in the day of Noah and Lot, they were eating, drinking. So will be the day of the coming of the Son of Man.
Right.
So then down below he says in verse 34, I tell you, on that night there will be two in one bed, and one will be taken and the other will be left. There will be 2 women grinding at the same place, and one will be taken, the other will be left. There will be 2 men that will be in the field. One will be taken, the other will be left. Now, some people believe that that's rapture. That's talking rapture, the idea that God's going to take his people out of the earth so that then the tribulation can come.
Which, I mean, it's kind of what it sounds like. It sounds like someone disappears.
It does. It does. And I just found out this week, too, that the word taken there is a word which means to receive to myself or to receive from or to take within me or take with me. And Jesus did mention in John 14 that I'm going to prepare a place, and if I come, I will take you, or I'll bring you so that where I am, there you may be also. So it's possible that that could be it. However, it's interesting that in the reference to Sodom and Gomorrah and to Noah, that Lot and Noah weren't taken out of the world. They were left in the world, but they were saved.
Right.
And the wicked were the ones that were taken out.
Well, I thought, and so you brought that up on Sunday. And I guess I never thought about that before, but you know, they were still here.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're here, there's a precedent set that you may still be here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so if you
just moved.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So the tribulation then is this time of suffering, or this time of great testing is really the key here. It's great testing that will come upon the earth. So if you go then to Luke 21, you see a greater expression of this in Luke 21, starting in verse 10. Then he continued, saying to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be great earthquakes, and in various places plagues and famines, and there will be terrors and great signs from the heavens." Now, Jesus talked about that in Luke 17 too, but it was also a part of what he said that they would see in the tribulation. Even the disciples would see this. So he says in verse 12 then, "But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you." So before you see these terrors and these great signs in the heavens and these earthquakes and plagues, all this stuff, they're going to lay their hands on you. And he's speaking again to the disciples. So the disciples are going to experience a tribulation where people are laying their hands on them, they're persecuting them, and some of them will be put to death, he says. So there's this argument that continues to be propagated in the rapture movement that we're going to be pulled out of this tribulation because God's not going to let his church suffer, which I find interesting because are not the disciples his church?
Yes.
So they suffered. So
Yes.
why on earth do we think that we're not going to?
No, listen, and it's such a simple concept that even Alex Jones brings this up.
Oh, the scholar Alex Jones.
Yeah, that's my point. Mm-hmm. Like even the scholar Alex Jones goes, because all right, from a conspiracy theory standpoint, here we go. From a conspiracy theory standpoint, it's the pre-tribulation rapture was created to bring everybody into the church under mind control. Because they're going to be medevaced out of there. Don't you want to be a part of a church that's going to be saved before there's any problems?
So he's poking some fun at the whole rapture thing then, as
Well,
far as taking out.
He just doesn't believe in a pre-trib rapture, and
Gotcha.
he's had mid-post. He's had everybody else on because he thinks that the pre-trib rapture is a concoction for controlling masses of people.
Oh.
And if you think about it,
Yeah.
can we follow this real quick?
Yeah, sure.
It happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when Satanism was ramping up, communism was ramping up,
Okay.
the governments were coming together, industrial revolution was going on. There was a lot of worship of man getting started.
Okay.
We are gaining knowledge, late 1800s, early 1900s, and wouldn't you know, this pre-trib rapture concept is invented by Darby.
Schofield Bible?
Schofield was a major proponent and developer.
Darby. Yeah, you're right, though, Darby.
Yeah, and so much so that their own Bible was made for it. And that's when really huge tent revivals were going on. And let's bookmark that spot about. There was preaching of fire, brimstone, the end, and severe judgment. Like even who's ever the one everybody likes to read is giant stacks of books.
Spurgeon?
Yeah. Even Spurgeon, gave lots of sermons on fire, brimstone, hellfire. Like they would do that. And so this became like, you can escape the flames if you come over here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's plausible,
right,
that it was a way to get people into the church and be a control mechanism.
Yeah.
And then bookmark the fact that the idea of here's how you can save your life. Come join the church, and you'll be spared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is interesting because all of these texts, which I brought up last week, all of these texts continue
to tell you you're going to suffer.
Well, yeah, but they continue to have this theme or this thread that says, "But if you endure to the end, you will be saved."
Okay.
So you've got a mass of people, and you're telling them that you don't have to worry about enduring because you're going to be sucked out.
Exactly. Right.
That's kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's a little concerning.
Well, and I guess the thing that I'm driving at, or the point that I would like to make, is it appeals to the nature to save yourself.
Right.
I am appealing to my self that I don't want to get hurt. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be boiled in oil.
Right.
I don't want my head cut off by a guillotine. I don't want to be run through with a sword. I don't want to be shot.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to sign up for something that tells me I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right. So we know that the disciples were going to go through tribulation. It clearly says here that there are some bad things are going to happen to them in this tribulation time. And yet there appears to be a tribulation coming. And Daniel the prophet spoke of a tribulation or a time of tribulation where there would be something known as the abomination of desolation that would happen. Now, that could be an already happened and still yet happening, like a bigger part of that, because we have history of 70 A.D. when Nero came in and Vespasian's forces surrounded Jerusalem for 2 years. They held him captive inside, and then they finally broke down the gates, ransacked the temple, burned it, and just destroyed it to the ground. People were killed. Horrible things, and that's the desolation, because in Luke, Matthew 24 and 25, Matthew talks about the abomination of desolation, or Jesus does in Matthew, but in Luke says, verse 20 of chapter 21, "But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by the armies, then recognize that her desolation is near." That goes back to Daniel 9:26. So her desolation was there in a tribulation time of the church and the Jewish people there in Jerusalem, that this was going to happen. And it did happen. And just like Jesus said, not one stone would be left unturned, it would be destroyed. And it was in 70 A.D.
Was this also the time when they were doing really horrible things like eating each other?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, they were eating their children.
I mean, so that would be like that would be like desolate. That would be no spirit there to control the evil.
Well, yeah, that's what it appears like. Yeah.
Right.
Now, yeah, we could talk about some of that stuff too. The idea of the restrainer being taken out in some of the passages, but that we'll get into that different thing. So in Luke 21, then you've got the abomination of desolation, or the desolation, and then it says in 21, those who are in Judea need to flee to the mountains. Woe to those who are pregnant. They'll fall by the edge of the sword, and people will fall by the edge of the sword. They'll be taken captive into all the nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. So we know that the time of the Gentiles has been going on for a while. The time of the Gentiles has been going on really since Peter and Paul began to take the gospel to the Gentiles. But this is speaking of this idea of the time of the Gentiles. There's going to be a fulfillment of the time of the Gentiles. Some people say that we are either in that fulfillment now, or it's been fulfilled already. And the Jews have been going back since 1948 to their homeland from where they were scattered. So that time may be up. So then look at what takes place then in this chronology of Luke 21, verse 25. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, dismay among nations, in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves,
men fainting from fear and the expectation of the things which are coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Now, some people, when you look at this language and you go back to the Old Testament prophets, Isaiah, you go into Revelation, the idea of the sun and moon and stars, these signs happening, sun, darkening, the moon not giving its light, the stars falling from the sky, this language is imagery language of invading armies, oftentimes, when it's used. Now, could it be literal here? It could be literal. But it's usually of invading armies. So, when you go to Revelation then, and you start to look at Revelation, for instance, say Revelation, we'll just look at Revelation 8. Chapter 8. Would it be Revelation 8?
No, let's look at, Revelation 8. Yeah, okay, so we'll start in verse 8, Revelation 8. The second angel sounded a trumpet, and it was something like a great mountain was burning with fire, and it was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. Now, most people would say that's an asteroid going to hit the planet.
Nibiru.
Yeah, it could be. Then a third of the creatures in the sea had died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. So that seems interesting, because if it hits the ocean, a third of the ships being destroyed, depending on where it hits, it would probably hit somewhere at a harbor. It wouldn't hit way out in the ocean, but possibly, I guess, tsunamis.
Well, what if it makes a tsunami?
Yeah,
It's
right.
that big.
Right.
So
Because that could hit harbors all around.
Right.
So that could happen. Yeah.
Okay.
So the third angel then sounds, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. And the name of that star is called Wormwood. And a third of the waters became wormwood, or bitter. The word wormwood means to be bitter. And many men died from the waters because they were made bitter. All right? So when you look at this now, some people go, okay, so we haven't seen that happen on the earth yet, and that's the tribulation that will be coming in the future.
So you were talking about this on Sunday, right? We talked about this exact thing on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was going to raise my hand about, but I didn't, because I didn't want to go to the microphone all the way over here.
I know, I set that up nice.
Should I bring it in the middle, you think?
Well, it might make it easier, but then sometimes I think you don't want me rambling in the middle of the Sunday, so I leave it for today.
Gotcha.
What if it's imagery of a nuclear weapon or a rocket or an idea? Because I have watched enough stuff, and I'm not an environmentalist. I'm an environmentalist in the sense that I think we should take care of God's planet and be good stewards. But I am not going to hug a tree. But I have watched documentaries that point out, like DuPont. Do you realize that 95% of the population of the world has Teflon in their system?
Really?
And DuPont made Teflon in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And all the people around the rivers and the waters of Parkersburg, West Virginia, a lot of weird things happen to their animals, a lot of birth defects in the children. And the Teflon thing, once it's in your system, it won't come out.
Really?
Yeah. And it has, so would this not be like bittered the waters, killing the fish?
It's possible.
Do you see where I'm going with?
Yeah.
And that's one example.
Right.
We have the huge plastic thing in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. What if that is a plague of our smartness, and we're polluting like that comes and pollutes our own waters? That was my thought on that.
Yeah.
So it could be fulfilled.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing, and I know this is going to get weird for people, but the other thing is that the imagery of stars burning rocks, oftentimes in the scriptures and in other texts, other like extra biblical writings, is referring to spirit beings or angels.
So it is possible that these things that are coming down are spirit beings that are coming down to wreak havoc on the earth during the tribulation time as well.
And so just like if you take the Book of Enoch, and the spirit beings taught us how to make swords, put on makeup, work with metals. Well, what if they come down and teach us how to make plastics and microwaves and nuclear bombs right? Okay.
Yeah. But then there's this one thing, and I wanna. Whoops, I moved that. Sorry. I'm gonna move it. The problem is I'm delayed. Can I see the VMix one?
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to see where I'm headed with this. Because I wanna give you a thought. So there.
Oh heavens.
So okay, and I'm not gonna zoom in yet. Hold on, I'll bring it over, and then I'm gonna. Okay.
Bring it. Yep. A little more. Yeah.
All right, and then I'm going to zoom in on you just a second because I want your thoughts on this because, okay, so Tom Horn, you know Tom Horn.
Yep.
Wrote a book probably about a year ago, gave this prophecy probably about a year ago. He did some prophecies on the popes and seemed to be somewhat on the money. But these prophecies, he had like in a vision or a dream, and he was told not to talk about them until a certain time. Well, he's now written a book. Says that, according to Revelation 8, says that there is a big cover-up at NASA, and in this vision that he had one night, while he was, and you can go just look up Tom Horn.
I should, because I haven't watched the Tom Horn in a while.
And look up Tom Horn, and then look up Wormwood.
Okay.
You'll find his videos on that, him talking about it. So he had a vision that he saw all these people in an area, and they were running for their lives. And he saw this great mountain coming down, like this fiery, stone, like an asteroid coming down the earth. He saw it hitting the ocean or the sea somewhere in the area between California and what would be across the ocean there from California. Would that be
Japan?
Asia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he saw it dropping somewhere in there, and when it hit. Obviously, it created tsunamis, and so lots of water coming into places. It created some kind of gas that was released into the atmosphere that did some things. So anyway, he saw all these things in his dream and his vision, and then he heard a word. Whenever he woke up, he heard this word, and the word was Apophis. Now, Apophis, I guess, is the name of a Greek god. He said he did some research or whatever. So long story short then, he starts researching this stuff and what an asteroid would do if it hit what scientists think it would do. And all the things that scientists think it would do was the things that he saw in his dream. And he thinks that these aren't three different rocks coming down. These are three different phases of the rock. So the rocks coming down, and when the first parts break up, they hit the ocean. Mm-hmm. And they kill a third of the ocean, and they kill ships and stuff because they're all breaking up. And then when the actual one comes and hits, some of the other stuff will happen, I guess. He broke it down. He breaks it down. So it's like three parts of this whole thing happening. As it's coming into the atmosphere, these are the things. That's a little strange because it seems here two very distinct situations. But they're trumpets, so these things are happening. So these are going to hit the ground, and this is all going to happen. So then he goes and does the research and finds out that NASA has been tracking an asteroid that is like 4 football fields wide, and they've actually named it Apophis.
Nice.
So, I mean, I don't know. You can't make this stuff up, but if he made it up, then he's done his research first ahead of time, and then he made the whole thing up a year ago and then decided he'd come out with this. So I don't know. But Tom Horn seems to be a pretty legit guy. He doesn't seem to be a wacko.
He does, but he also... I agree with you 100%, but
Yeah.
I do seem to also think he likes to sell books.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
So just let me finish this, and then I'll turn it over to you.
No.
Because I'm going to... the reason I'm going to turn it over to you, too, is I got to slip out just for a second. So he says then it's Apophis, and he also says in this new book, I guess, that that's one of the reasons for the Space Force, because they are actually trying to get out there to try to figure out how to stop this thing from coming. But it's supposed to be coming around 2029.
Okay.
2029 is when it's supposed to come, and he believes it'll come on Friday, April 13th of 2029. That's what he's saying. So I'm gonna switch over to you. Can I see the VMix? I'm gonna switch over to you, and then.
How long are you disappearing here?
Just probably 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, I really went weird there.
Yeah, you went crazy. Why are we zooming in?
Oh, we don't. Okay, you want me to zoom out?
No, it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Whoa.
Holy cow! You're really going crazy.
Sorry.
We should have programmed these. Oh, why? Why don't you just do our original shot? That's fine.
I gotta get me out.
Okay.
At least. Oops. There. Is that good?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So your thoughts?
Well, it's a lot to think about, and I guess we spent a lot of time in Tom Horn in 2012 with his book. I'm trying to remember what his book was, but it had to do with the coming apocalypse, because everybody, if you remember, everybody thought that the end of the world was coming in 2012, and then and Thomas Horn was right on that one. When I say right, I don't mean the end of the world came, but he was on that with a book. And then he wrote Apollyon Rising, which was the book following the first book, which I think... So the first book came out in 9, talking about 12. And then Apollyon Rising, that was the first one. And then the 1 in 12, I have the book with me. Anyway, it was kind of like the world didn't end, but here's why. So we need to worry about 2016. And I think that there are a lot of good thoughts and thinking, things to ponder with Tom Horn. I hope I'm not blowing up Brian's spot here. But I kind of haven't followed Tom Horn a whole much since then, because it kind of fizzled, right? And since then, listen, when it kind of comes to extra biblical knowledge, getting things in dreams, I don't know that still happens. I was giving them history on Tom Horn, and remember 2009 we read his book about the end of the world in 12?
Yeah, right.
And then he wrote his book in 12 about how it wasn't the end of the world, it was really going to be 16.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he didn't really have much after that, and I kind of fell away because it kind of fizzled. And then, since then I've picked up, I'm not into extra biblical knowledge. I'm not into, I personally, I'm not putting a whole lot in dreams and prophecies. And so I do think it's quite possible that we're going to get struck by a stone, because it's in the Bible that we're going to get struck by a stone.
If it's a real stone.
Okay.
It might be demonic. It could be alien.
Sure, it could be. Yes, it could be a spirit. Yeah, what if we see screaming demons on fire?
Right.
Oh.
Could they not come down and start destroying ships in the ocean?
I don't see why not.
With their laser beams.
No, listen, I don't see why not. If God gives them permission, and this was a thing I saw on Heiser this week. He gave a thing about Job, which was really cool, and he explained how when that Satan was giving a report, going to this council that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Have you seen this video?
No, but
Didn't we talk about a little bit about this last week too? On our Friday, we went to Job.
Maybe we did, but Heiser gave the explanation that these entities come to God, and they're like, so I'm doing my job, and and God's just like, have you met my servant Job? And then Satan's like, well, if he didn't have your protection and he would surely. And so he strikes up this thing of well, you can do whatever you want to him, but you cannot kill him. And he said that moment is a finality moment where he will still be left to sing his praises, and you will see that you're utterly wrong and a failure, as you always have been, Satan.
Yeah.
And so that proves that, sure, why couldn't they come and do whatever they want with us,
right,
if God allows it?
Yep.
But go back to the stone. If it's a stone or a rock or whatever, back to Alex Jones, they telegraph what's going to happen in movies. And how many movies have we had?
Yes.
Where, the Bruce Willis one where they're saving us from an asteroid, that lends to the Space Force. Or there's the one with the Elijah Wood, wasn't it? Him and that blonde girl. They find the asteroid coming to hit the Earth,
Okay.
and that whole movie is about we didn't tell anybody it was coming, but it's been coming for a long time, and now they know. So wouldn't it be just like
Right.
that idea being conveyed to us in that movie that's what happens in 2029?
Yeah, right.
And now it's starting to crack and come out. So
Now, Tom Horn also
some of the Tom Horn stuff to me smacks of like, I'm gonna sell a book. Here's my premise and my story to sell the
Right.
book. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater when we're actually talking about the stuff in the Bible. He's done the research, because I think he probably is a very good researcher.
Yeah.
He's done the research and found out that this is why there's Space Force. This is on the schedule to happen in 2029. Could
Yeah.
we do without all the other hocus pocus storytelling stuff?
Right.
Like the idea that, this is pretty wow. If there's a stone coming to smack us in 2029 and it's going to do all of these things that are in the Bible,
Right.
that's going to be pretty wild by itself.
Yeah. So he shared too. Like, I remember I read just a little bit earlier. I read concerning in Luke 21. He says that there be perplexity. So verse 25, there will be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and on the earth dismay among the nations, in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. Then he says, men fainting from fear and the expectation of the things which are coming upon the world. Now, that to me tells me like the tribulation stuff that's going to come, not necessarily a thing. But he uses this text to say, I think he says by 2025, this asteroid will be able to be seen with a good telescope that someone has at their home.
Nice.
And then he says by like 2027, he said you'll be able to see it with the
naked eye.
That's what he said. That's what he's saying. So if that's the case, then he says people are going to be fearful. They're going, oh my goodness, this thing's coming at us.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not. It's not.
Like so you can see the space station at night with your naked eye.
Right. I saw it the other night. Yeah.
Right. So if this thing's 4 football fields and it's got the sun shining off of it,
It's going to be huge.
there's no reason that all right. So this is fun. Great.
So, but here's the other thing too. Like, okay,
Can I get a bunch of credit cards and just start charging them up, or should I wait a little bit?
wait till 2027.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just double checking.
So this is what's interesting too, because this idea of the fear, fainting because of fear. If you read the rest of Revelation, it's not just an asteroid. There's so many things that are going to be happening on the Earth,
Right.
that it's more
That's
than
just
just
one
an
piece.
asteroid.
That's one
Yeah,
piece.
It's just one piece.
That's going to be
so
one happening.
fainting and peeing your pants because of what you see is going to be a legit thing. Because the things, these beings that are going to show up, that's legit.
Stuff coming out of the ground.
So again, yeah. So let me think. So there are going to be some coming out of the ground. But what if these rocks are some kind of satanic force coming, and it's the whole alien phenomenon that they've been talking about for years, and that they've been supposedly covering up, and now people are saying we're seeing these things, like even naval officers.
There is documentation from Russia, from England or Europe,
Right.
saying that they've engaged.
Right.
They've engaged stuff and lost.
Right.
That means we've had people killed by it.
Right.
Okay.
So let's think about this. You've got a stone that's supposedly 4 football fields wide, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got movies that show a huge mothership that comes down and releases other stuff, right? What do you? Something's coming. I don't know. Could it be a stone? Could it be a demonic ship that they're coming to wreak havoc on the earth with God's judgment? I know people are going to think I'm nuts.
I don't
but
think they need a ship.
I don't either. But what if?
I think they're here now because we go to Ephesians with powers and principalities of the air.
Right.
They're here now.
But what if
They're
that's
not flying here?
Yeah. But what if
forever.
that ship is a part of the deception? That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I had a theology professor.
I'm on board.
That came in one day. We were talking about some end time stuff, and he said, "I have a feeling." He said, "I'm not saying it is, but he said the way they play the alien stuff up on movies and all that."
They really do.
He said, "I got a feeling."
Listen, I'm telling you, there's something here. Yeah. They telegraph to us. All right, just with coronavirus, and you could do this yourself just on Netflix alone. If you go back 4 years, you can find a half a dozen movies about a COVID-type virus doing exactly what we have going on right now. They tell us what they're going to do, what's going to happen in the movies.
Right.
Because that primes our brain. And
Yeah.
let this strike a chord of fear of you now. We're in October.
Why
All
you
of
always want to
people-
scare me?
Well, no, I mean, this scares me, all right? I'll scare me again.
But you said specifically,
Ah.
let this strike a chord of fear in you.
And you.
Oh.
And you.
Oh, okay.
And you. If you are letting your kids... No, listen, I'm very serious about this. I am a very anti-Halloween guy. And I'm a very anti-scary movie guy with the Chainsaw Massacres, and that is straight from hell.
Freddy Krueger.
All of these movies that have come out, Saws and the Girl in the Well that give you the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, yeah. What was
The Ring.
that? The Ring.
Yeah, all
Do you
of-
remember the Freddie Krueger song?
No, I never watched that.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
No, I don't
3,
remember
4, better lock your door. You don't remember
that.
that?
No, I don't. Was that in the movie?
Yeah, it was 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
Oh, boy.
7, 8, gonna stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep
Within
again.
the movies is satanic symbolism
Yeah.
and an action. But either way, anyway, they're priming for being scared out of your mind by that kind of activity is going to go on. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen.
It's gonna be real.
It's going to be for real. And so you let your kids watch this stuff at a young age, and they're totally going to be desensitized. I don't know. It might not be bad. Maybe they can shoot Freddy Krueger then.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if they'll be desensitized, but I think they'll be so scared that they'll look for a antichrist to save them. They'll look for somebody to save them.
And that carries over to even the Alien movies, to get back on the rails where we were. Yeah, no, listen, yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know people say, oh, come on, you weirdos. But I'm telling you, when you start to read the Bible is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in the Bible. We talked about some of that in Genesis.
We only participate in 4 dimensions. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. And Einstein proved there's at least 13 or 19 mathematically.
Right.
So, we are going to see other dimensional stuff, and that's going to knock us back
Yeah.
when we start seeing this kind of things.
And I think the reason why people get offended or they start freaking out when we talk about things like this, or any Christian talks about things like this, is because the Christian community has been, because of science and evolution and naturalism and humanism, the Christian church has been taught that unless you can see it, feel it, touch it, and have empirical evidence, it doesn't exist outside of this realm.
And
that's not true.
everything is awesome.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean that you should go to the mall and buy clothes you need, and surely you just get gas at the gas pump, and
Right.
your home will be there when you get home. And if it's not, it's insured. We'll put it back. We have made a nation of thumbsuckers,
We have.
and we are that, and that's why you're gonna pee your pants when you see this stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you were sitting there starving with a distended belly, waiting for the lion to come eat you, and you
Right.
saw this thing falling out of the sky to wipe you out, you'd go, "Why not?
Yeah, right.
Let's sure, let's go."
Right.
This is going to disturb the people that we have built a wonderful life for ourselves
Yeah.
on Earth.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons, and people would think just the opposite, but I think it's one of the reasons why Paul and Jesus said, hey, you need to comfort one another with these words because you will be saved in the end, but comfort one another. Now, the other side, that's the people that say we'll be raptured out, say, well, why would you comfort people by telling them they're going to suffer and then get raptured out? Well, because that way they can endure in the suffering knowing that God will save them. That's the way I look at it.
Right.
But the rapture people, at least pre-rapture people who say we're going to be taken out before all this bad stuff happens, they say, pre-trib. They say, no, God would never tell us to encourage one another if he's going to say we have to suffer first. And I think that's a load of garbage. But
it doesn't make sense with the rest of the Word of God, really.
No.
The whole Bible is a story of suffering.
Yeah.
I mean, his people suffered in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
They suffered in the desert while they were waiting to go to the promised land that they turned down.
Right.
Then they suffered every one of them died because they didn't get to see it, you know, besides
right.
Joshua. Like the Bible is nothing but suffering under Nebuchadnezzar, suffering under bad kings after God said don't get king. Like the whole walk through the Bible. John the Baptist had his head served up on a platter.
Yep.
The apostles boiled in oil, burned upside down. Name all the bad things that happened to them.
Yeah. James was beheaded. Yeah.
Yeah. So why? And Jesus says, you know, follow me and, you know, suffer in my name.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Why would he say such a thing?
I know. And then you know when you come into Revelation and you see that the tribulation period, this great tribulation, is going to be bad. It may be that it could be that God's going to pull us out of that part of it, like we're going to be pulled out. I don't know. See, the question is not will the rapture happen? The rapture is going to happen. The scriptures are clear that he's going to change us. We're going to be with him.
Right.
But the question is when.
Right.
And that's what's debated.
Well, I'm sorry. Like, all right. So this is where entertaining this preterist idea. They kind of have to believe, and actually, there's people that believe that we're in the millennial reign.
Yeah. Which, I don't know about that.
I'm not really sold on it either. And to be honest, but smart people are there. Right. Like David Platt's one of them.
Oh, he's a is he a preterist? David
Yeah.
Platt? Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
and yeah, you can YouTube. He talks about it.
Okay.
And he's one of these. We're in the millennial reign, and I go. So that's where I'm like, how does someone kind of smart like that? And smart people do dumb things. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing that for my dad. But what puts him here? Like, what if the tribulation, is it 7 years? Is there something in there that says there will be a tribulation and it will be 7 years? Is it in there?
You want me to tell you where it's at?
Yeah.
It's not good. So it goes back to Daniel chapter 9, and it's the 70 weeks of Messiah. So if I were to read Daniel chapter 9, starting in verse 24, 70 weeks have been decreed for your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make an atonement for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up visions and prophecies, and to anoint the most holy. So you are to know and discern that from the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince comes, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. So what's that give you? 69 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So 69 sevens would be 400 and... what's 69 sevens? I'm going to get my calculator just so I don't mess up. 483 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how many more years till you get 490 years, which would be
7.
Yeah, so you got 7 more years. So they're saying that a week here would mean that a week equals 7 years.
So you're not showing me where it says.
That's where they take it from.
Okay, but it's on a construct of. Okay, we're now I'm doing some math,
Right.
And I'm showing you the whatever,
Right.
And that never goes well for man.
Well, here's the big problem with this one that I found as I was researching it, and that is, so it says that there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks when the time is issued for the rebuilding of Jerusalem till Messiah the Prince comes. So they're taking 483 years till that point.
Right.
Right? Okay. Then after the 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing, and the people and the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and its end will come with the flood. Even to the end, that will be war. Desolations are determined. So there's that concept of desolations being determined, 70 A.D. So they're taking this literal, like 483 years from that time of the Babylonian captivity until, the issuing of the rebuilding of Jerusalem till the prince comes. They're looking at that as literal. The problem is they take that last 7 weeks and they put it all the way into the future.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, no, yeah. So go back to my original question. There, as far as I know, there's not a scripture that says the tribulation is going to be a 7-year period of mayhem and destruction. Go look at Revelation.
Well, okay. So then in Revelation, you have this idea that there will be a time of, it says a time, a times, and a half a time. So that would technically, if you said a time was a year, a time,
2.5 years.
So time, 2 times. Hold on, let me find the text. It adds up to be 3.5 years. Let me just find the text for you. If you want to throw anything out while I'm trying to find this, because who knows how long this could take.
I mean, once we have to start going into numerology and math and
Well, that's part of the issue. So, and that's only when the peace covenant or the treaty will be broken by the Antichrist, according to this. Come on, Brian.
yeah, it doesn't even say, and then starts the 7-year tribulation period.
Right.
Because it's literally, this is where I'm at in the Bible understanding and the Bible reading.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand that some of it's pictures, and we're talking about the stuff falling from the sky. Could be demons, could be an actual stone, could be, okay. I'm willing to go with you on all those things, but when you have these time and a half a time, or whatever these things are, we're trusting that whatever we're learning about what they used to know and what they used to believe that is what it is, and then we're turning it into our end times prophecy.
Right. And of course, when people are writing the books and they're talking about these things, they'll put this together so it sounds cohesive. The problem is they don't put everything else together.
They don't put everything else in there, and I'm okay. Here's another thing: you're not finding it, and I'm wondering if you're not finding it because it's in an ESV or.
Oh no, it's in here. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Revelation 12.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes it depends on what translation you're looking at.
So Revelation 12:14. Revelation 12, which is interesting, is if you read Revelation 12, it's the Messiah coming, and it's the Messiah being cut off. But anyway, it's a time. It says here, verse 14. But the 2 wings of the great eagle were given to the woman so that she could fly into the wilderness to her place where she was, and nourished for a time, times, and a half a time. So times is plural there, so they believe time, times, and a half a time. So time is 1 year, times is 2 years, and a half a time, so that's 3.5 years. And the presence
How
of
do you
the
come up
serpent-
with that?
I'm just telling
What
you.
if
how they
times
figure
is 5 years?
it could be, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would
Yeah.
have to show me how a times
Yeah.
means 2 years exactly.
Right.
Okay, anyway, go ahead. And an eagle, does that mean it's the United States?
Yeah, well, it could be.
Is this the United States flying off to safety?
Yeah. So halftime, and from the presence of the serpent. See, to me, when I read this, I'm thinking about how God delivered Christ from Herod when Herod was trying to kill him, and he delivered him to Egypt.
Okay.
So that's kind of the picture I get here. But then the other picture could be the saints being protected and kept in this time as well. But anyway, so that's times. That's Revelation 12:14, and then there's a covenant. If I can find this, maybe I won't be able to find it. There's another place where he makes the Antichrist makes a covenant, an agreement, and it talks about a time, times, and a half a time.
So that would be the other 3.5
That would be the So they put all this stuff together and they go, there's your 7 years, 7 years of tribulation. Here's how it all works, and they do it real neat and tidy. They do a good job of it. But there's so many problems with it that to me it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I wish I'd have known this when I was end times theology in the 7th grade. I really feel let down. I really feel like I got duped into my end times theology.
Yeah,
it's my own fault.
Yeah, it should be. And so maybe it's not in Revelation that I was thinking. It's in Daniel 7:25. He will speak out against the Most High and wear down the saints of the Highest One, which is so interesting. He's going to wear down the saints, and they say we're not going to be here.
Yeah.
Now,
if we're going to use Daniel, like, I'm sitting here going, I'm tired of the Daniel. Why does the Daniel get to be about the end times?
Yeah. So the saints of the Most High, and he will intend to make alterations in times and in law, and they will be given into his hand for a time, times, and a half a time. So he'll be given power for 3.5 years. But the court will sit for judgment, and his dominion will be taken away, annihilated, and destroyed forever. then the sovereignty and the dominion of the greatness of all the kingdoms under the whole heaven will be given
Which is now
to the
possible
people of
because
the
Ruth
saints.
Bader Ginsburg has passed.
That's true.
The court will be a conservative court, and he will be tried under our conservative court. I love America.
Yeah. We're going to get them.
We're gonna get him.
Yeah. America will be great again.
We'll be great.
So that's interesting, too. What are your thoughts on the president and Mrs. Trump having COVID now, and they're going to have to be isolated for 14 days? He may not be able to make the thing.
The debate?
The debate, but also there's some meetings that have to take place for him to get...
Do the peace accord thing?
No, to get her into the...
I can't remember her name now.
The judge.
He just has to write something.
Oh, he doesn't have to be...
No, he hasn't got to do nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I thought maybe they were trying to stop
In
it.
fact, he's already nominated her for the Supreme Court. That's already done. That happened last Saturday.
So she's in.
No, it now has to be approved by the Senate.
Okay.
And that's why stupid Biden, who
Stupid is a mean word, Mr. Wilson.
he's not smart. Okay?
Well, Mr. Trump made sure of that. Did you say that?
That was fantastic.
Oh my goodness! That my boys and I sat there and laughed. Now April, she was like growing up because April, she really gets frustrated when people use derogatory names towards people, which I agree with her. But the boys couldn't stop laughing, and so now they're causing me to laugh. But when he started, don't talk to me about smart, and then he just started going off on his like education stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness!
But these are facts.
That's a mess.
They're facts. This is what I find the greatest thing. I hate to go back into this Trump thing, but they're not on the television going, he was wrong here. This isn't true there. That's not true there. They're not doing that to Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, he was mean because he was talking over everybody.
Yeah,
This was unpresidential.
yeah,
They're not quizzing his facts.
right.
Okay. Right. But anyway, where was I going with the Biden thing? Where were we going?
We were doing the judge thing.
Oh, the judge thing. So
It has to be passed by Senate.
all of a sudden, the Democrats are a whole pile of constitutionalists, except they ruined it. They've already ruined it. When Harry Reid he made it so that you don't need a 2/3 majority to approve it, because they were trying to get through their judges. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember which liberal judge it was. It was in the Clinton times, I think. And they got rid of a bunch of rules. They almost got rid of the filibuster, so that the Republicans had no power to hold up their nomination thing. And Mitch McConnell warned them at that time. He's like, "Don't do this, because we are going to use this on you someday, you morons." And so now we're at that time, and now the Democrats now are all a bunch of constitutionalists who, the way it was originally written, the Senate was to be appointed by the individual state governments,
Okay.
not voted on directly, so that they could not be enticed and persuaded by political monies and lobbying and whatever. And if you had a Senate that was nominated directly from the state governments, you still have representation, because you vote for those representatives in the state governments, and then the state governments nominate the senators, and the senators are then supposed to be they're supposed to be like the wing of the congressional branch that is just and neutral, and they were to be appointed and not pundits, politically bought, and so on and so on, right? And so they actually had a very powerful position as far as what they could do. And so now you have a group of people, the senators, and this is why Biden was in error when he said, so talk to your senators, you need to talk to your senators. The senators had a control and a power to that was just and representative of the people. And then when they switched it so that we directly elected our senators, they became corrupted. And so, and part of the political process. And so it really is now just kind of a rubber stamp, right? And a bunch of political theatrics.
Gotcha.
The president is supposed to be allowed to appoint whoever he wants to the Supreme Court. And what was funny, too, did you hear him say he opened up right out of the gate, elections have consequences.
Right. Yeah.
That was Obama line. Obama used that line.
Really?
Yes, elections have consequences.
Interesting.
Because he was throwing it at the Republicans like, we won, sit down, elections have consequences. And that's why I thought was wonderful when Donald Trump come right out and goes, elections have consequences, here we are. And that it's his whole term. Until he leaves the White House and the other guy is inaugurated, he's the president.
Right.
It isn't until,
Elections.
election time.
Yeah.
Elections start.
Right.
So the Senate needs to approve it. That's where we are.
Okay.
And I think it'll go through.
So his COVID won't have anything to do with
Nope,
it.
I don't think so.
And he's been taking hydroxychloroquine, so he should be good to go. He'll be fine.
Listen, I'm pretty sure that he already, in the middle of the night in his sleep, wrestled it, tied it up, and threw it out the window of the White House.
I would imagine.
Yeah, he killed it. He already killed it within himself.
I would imagine.
Yeah, it's Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Donald Trump. Well, so we have talked about just some things. Continue, if you didn't catch us in the beginning, continue to keep the Cochran family in your prayers for their loss of their son,
Sorry about my
Jack. And the other thing is, don't forget to join us this weekend for baptism. It's
On
gonna be
Sunday.
a great time on Sunday. And the other thing is this, tribulation, we all have to go through tribulation and hard times, but tribulation is coming, a big one, a great one. And the truth is that unless you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and your Savior, you will not only have to go through a tribulation, a time of testing, but you also will then find yourself in an eternity separated from God, which is the only standard of goodness that this world even knows. Even people that don't follow God and they have some good things in their life, it's because there is remnants of God. Mm-hmm. It's because God's hand is in it. But there's coming a day when those people who have rejected the sacrifice that God gave us because of our sin, when we reject that, there will be a time where we will not only walk through a tribulation, but we will then go into an eternity separated from that goodness
Which is a
and that
whole
God.
different
forever.
debate.
It is a whole different debate.
Do you spend eternity in agony, burning, crying, wailing, gnashing of teeth, or does God throw it all into the lake of fire and it's all destroyed?
Yeah, that'd be a nihilism. That'd be a theology called a nihilism, which means that, who cares? I'll live my life because I'm just going to be destroyed and I won't know anything or remember anything.
Oh, okay. I see where that's at. All right.
That would be a nihilism, yeah.
Well, you better hope that's the case, because an eternity of hellfire and burning does not sound great.
Yeah, well, I would say, don't
Go ahead.
bet on that.
Go ahead. Take your chances with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Go
take my
ahead.
chances.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would not take my chances. So, but you can know Jesus Christ. He came and put on flesh, God himself, and he died in your place so that you could be forgiven of your sins. So if you know that you're a sinner and you believe and trust that Jesus Christ has died from your sins, then you just need to follow him. You need to get your life, you need to turn from the way you've been living your life, and you need to start following him and learn from him. The Bible tells us over and over again that that's the key. The key is to learn from Jesus because he knows how to live life. He is the life. He is the truth. He is the way. And so I want to encourage you today, there's no time like today to get serious about following Jesus. You can say I'm a Christian. You can say I believe in God. You can say I believe in Jesus, that he died for my sins. But the idea of saying those things is different than actually believing and trusting Jesus to give you eternal life. And that means you're going to have to learn from him and be a student and let him change and transform your life. So I say repent today. Don't wait. Repent today, which means turn from your old way of life and turn to him and start learning how to live the way he's called you to live. And it'll be the best decision you'll make. And if you go through the tribulation, your life will be saved in the end anyway. But if you don't go through the tribulation, you'll be with him. So either way, however that whole thing pans out, you'll be okay if you're in Christ Jesus. Matt, anything else on that?
The gift is free, but you still have to take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So, all right. So it is time. Our time is out. We have a busy weekend, and so hope you have a great weekend. And Lord willing, we'll see you Sunday.
Sunday. Have a great week, everybody.